Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this chilly night. My name is Meredith Outerkirk. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the manager of community and public affairs for Planned Parenthood in Central and Western New York. I want to start off by saying some thank yous. First to the other speakers that are going to follow me and the other organizers who have been part of putting tonight together. I'd also like to say thank you to the representatives and their staff who have come to observe this day and have continued to be allies in the fight for reproductive freedom. And I'd like to thank the press who are attending here tonight for continuing to keep this issue in the forefront of the mind of the public. And finally, I'd like to thank all of you for attending. You persist in the fight, advocating not only for yourselves, but for others who share in this struggle. In the face of challenges, you stand firm, advocating for a world where every single individual, no matter what, can access comprehensive sexual and reproductive health care, including abortion.
Yeah.
Thank you. Woo! Your refusal to succumb to heartbreak, even in the face of setbacks, speaks volumes. You recognize that Roe was never the ceiling, it was always the floor. We are not asking for preservation, we are demanding transformation.
Yes!
Woo! Before I go on, I'll ask that all of you join me in a moment of silence for the people who have lost their lives due to restriction on reproductive and abortion care since the Dobbs decision, for the people who have experienced self-managed abortion or who have experienced miscarriages and are facing criminal charges, for people who have sacrificed their freedom while helping others obtain reproductive care, and for those who have experienced the harsh reality that even when Roe was intact, countless individuals faced formidable obstacles in accessing fundamental reproductive health care. Thank you. We have watched together as the fallout has impacted the health, the safety, and the rights of hundreds of thousands of individuals across this country. Bans have eliminated access to some or all abortions in 22 states, with more likely to follow. More than 160 anti-abortion measures have already been filed in 25 states this legislative session, with likely hundreds more to come. 1 in 3 women of reproductive age in the United States, along with many more trans and non-binary people, have lost access to this basic form of health care in their home states. People in states with abortion bans are forced to travel hundreds or even thousands of miles for care if they can afford to do so. They are faced with potential prosecution from the legal system for seeking out this care. Others are managing their abortions outside of the healthcare system or being forced to carry a pregnancy to term against their will. In addition to extreme limits on abortion care, it is now harder for people to get life-saving medical care for miscarriages, ectopic pregnancies, and other pregnancy-related complications. The effects of these bans are not limited to the states where abortion is no longer legal. Here in New York State, where abortion is currently legal and protected, healthcare systems are overwhelmed and wait times for care have increased. Planned Parenthood of Central and Western New York continues to do whatever we can to meet the needs of patients seeking abortion within our communities and those traveling from out of state. And we know that other safety net providers are tirelessly seeking confirmation of what activists have long known to be true, that banning abortion does not negate the need for abortion, and it does not prevent abortion.
That's right.
Yeah. Woo, woo. With all of this said, we observe this day knowing that this is bigger than the loss of Roe versus Wade. The reality is that the heartbreak of losing Roe is one that many people have been experiencing long before the Dobbs decision. The right to an abortion has never been enough to guarantee access to an abortion. Extensive legal restrictions like mandatory waiting periods and ultrasounds have stood in the way of care. Structural racism has always impacted access to and quality of care. Class-based hurdles like access to transportation, money to pay for care, and the ability to take time off of work have stood in the way of one's right to make a decision about how and when to start a family forever. These barriers impact the most marginalized among us the most heavily. The Dobbs decision marked a devastating loss, but it also marked an opportunity to reimagine a better, more equitable future, one where all people, regardless of their identity, their location, or their income, have freedom over their bodies.
Yes.
Yes. And we are coming together to build that future, a future that centers those historically left behind together. In the same way that we see Roe as the floor of reproductive freedom, anti-abortion lawmakers see overturning Roe as the floor of the lengths that they will go to oppress our reproductive freedom.
Ooh, yes.
Anti-abortion rights lawmakers and their allies were never satisfied with overturning Roe versus Wade. In Congress, the anti-abortion rights House majority has continued to attack abortion, baking it into must-pass government funding bills, including measures that would defund Planned Parenthood, eliminate funding for Title X, restrict medication abortion, and overturn Department of Defense policies that were put in place to ensure access for service members and for their families, regardless of where they are serving.
Whoa!
Over time, the anti-abortion movement has successfully stacked the courts with judges and justices who are hostile to abortion and reproductive health care. Now, our ability to control our lives and our bodies is once again in the hands of the U.S. Supreme Court, scheduled to hear 2 abortion-related cases this term, brought by anti-abortion lawmakers and activists. One case could limit access to mifepristone, a medication used in more than half of abortions in the United States, and the other could deny pregnant people from abortion care in emergencies, putting their health and their lives at risk. Courts and politicians shouldn't be deciding what medicines are available to the public and what care patients receive when their health and their life are at risk.
Right.
Every day, the fights we face become more proliferated, but we are not backing down.
No.
Supporters are mobilized. Poll after poll shows that the public overwhelmingly supports access to legal abortion.
Yes.
85% of Americans, regardless of political affiliation, want abortion to be legal nationwide.
Oh, yeah.
States are passing proactive legislation to secure reproductive rights. In 2022, abortion supporters went 6 for 6 on abortion ballot referendums.
Okay.
Champions for abortion access are taking office at the local, state, and federal levels. So what are we going to do about it? You are already making a difference by being here. Across town today, an anti-abortion group is hosting an event where they are likely to provide inaccurate or stigmatizing information about abortions and about the people who get them. What we know is that abortion is one of the safest medical procedures. What we know is that 1 in 4 American women will have an abortion before the age of 40. What we know is that we are all safer and healthier when we are given unbiased, medically accurate information and the freedom to make decisions for ourselves, our bodies, and our futures.
Right.
When we show up here, we are showing our community that we support each other and we support every individual in that freedom. What else can we do about it? We can take actions that protect abortion care here in New York State so that we will remain a beacon of access to others. Currently, Medicaid reimburses safety net providers like Planned Parenthood at less than the cost of providing care for things like medication abortion. We need to see that reimbursement increase in order to continue to invest in the medical providers who tirelessly provide this care.
Yes.
Other abortion access states like California, Illinois, and Oregon have recently taken steps to increase Medicaid reimbursement for these procedures, and New York State must follow their lead.
Yes.
Woo! There is also an opportunity to enact and fund the Reproductive Freedom and Equity Program, a grant program dedicated specifically to investing in abortion care in New York State. including equipment, facilities, provider training and recruitment, and security upgrades that would strengthen and expand access to care. Later this week, Planned Parenthood of Central and Western New York, along with many of you, are going to Albany to meet with our elected representatives and discuss these important measures. But for those of you who are not able to join us, we hope that you can reach out to your representatives and let them know that this is important to you as a constituent. It's important to you that we invest in our ability to remain an access state for others. We are happy to provide form letters to anyone who would like to interact with their representative by mail. We're also happy to provide coaching for anyone who is interested in making a call and maybe never has before. So to close, the path ahead is challenging, and we know that change won't happen quickly. Together, we will continue fighting with everything we've got to make sure everyone has access to the sexual and reproductive health care they need to control their body, their rights, and their futures, and that those basic rights and freedoms are permanently protected, not subject to whoever happens to have power at any given moment.
Right.
Woo! So thank you everybody for being here tonight. I am going to pass this off to Britton Hargers with the new Pride agenda.
Yes!
Greetings and good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My body, my right.
My body, my right.
My body, my right.
My body, my right.
Tonight, I want everyone here outside to stand with me. And if you don't remember anything else that I say, I need you all to acknowledge that sexual reproductive justice is a multicultural fight. And it stands in the intersections in which I live. So many times, we don't understand that this movement has been siloed. But I stand outside and I speak for each and every one of my trans masculine siblings. I speak for my non-binary siblings who are in this same fight. The fact that we all have to stand here tonight, there's not enough of us standing here in our intersections. When we talk about sexual reproductive justice, everyone has an assumption of who we are talking about and who it is for, and you are not thinking about people that look like me or my LGBTQ plus siblings.
Yes.
And that is a problem. This affects multiple communities, multiple races, multiple identities. And we must unify as one and stand together, because today we're not fighting in New York, but as the safe haven that we have come to be for providers, families, youth, parents, across all, I think I'll say it again, multicultural. There's not enough of us out here. There's not enough combined identities. When people talk about abortions, they don't think about folks of the LGBTQ plus community. They don't think about non-binary folks who still have the ability to carry children. And then they also don't think about BIPOC, trans folks who have the ability to still choose to be parents, because we are human and we have been given the ability to love and birth. So if anyone believes that you are safe in New York State today, remember that you are too comfortable. You are too comfortable. And when building a safe haven, the governor gave us the stamp, but we must do the work.
Oh, yes.
We must make room for the folks that are not here, that are not represented, and who are not heard.
Yes.
We cannot make this a cis, and I'll say it again, a cisgender problem. The only way that we will take this down is if we move in unity and find the intersections and the communities that are not out here represented tonight and say that we hear you.
Yes.
We must make room for the folks that are on their way. We must protect our providers. We must protect our youth that are running here. We must protect and educate. Another point, a big, huge point. We must educate the providers that are here in New York State. Because one thing that people don't understand, that healthcare is gender affirming care. I'm going to say that again. Healthcare is gender affirming care.
Yes.
I asked a black trans woman this past weekend, Miss Majors, I said, how do I as a black trans man keep my black trans sisters safe? And she said, you just have to show up. You just have to be present. When we go to Albany on Wednesday, you can be present without being physically there. I need you to know who your champions are in the legislature. I need to know who's doing the work. You need to know who's doing the work in your city council. We need to be in school board meetings.
Yes.
We need to be in school board meetings because we need to pass the comprehensive sex ed bill.
Yes.
We need to pass the inclusive curriculum bill.
Yes.
Here in New York State so that folks are educated and understand that gender identity is not what you assume it to be. Folks like me, handsome, brown, and with the correct organs that I was blessed to have, should be able to carry children if I choose and have an abortion if I choose.
Yes.
My non-binary they, them siblings. When you are fighting for these rights, when you are speaking up, think about the folks that you have never spoken of before. My body and my right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. My body, my choice.
My body, my choice.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to ask Jillian from Rock SRJ to come up here and say a few words.
All right, Jill.
Happy Monday, y'all.
Happy Monday.
Look at us. Look at what we get to do. Okay? We may not want to do this, but at least we get to be together, right?
That's right.
We know we're not alone.
This is what community looks like.
Exactly.
That's right.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jillian Quigley. Everybody could hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. I am here representing Rochester Sexual and Reproductive Justice Task Force, also known as Rock SRJ in the community. Rock SRJ believes sexual and reproductive justice exists when all people have the autonomy, resources, and rights to make decisions about their bodies, reproduction, and sexual lives with dignity. Reproductive justice is more than just abortion. Today marks the 51st anniversary of Roe v. Wade. Roe was not perfect, and we know there were still barriers to access for many people who have been marginalized. We should be here celebrating together and advocating for ways we could improve Roe to be inclusive of all. Instead, we are here together feeling anxious, scared, and just plain pissed the fuck off.
Yes.
It is important for all who are here to understand that Rock SRJ will continue to say that abortion restrictions are rooted in anti-Blackness.
Yes.
Restricting reproductive autonomy is not new in this country, and it is tied to the enslavement of Black and brown bodies.
Yep.
Abortion restrictions continue to impact Black and brown bodies at higher rates. We know when abortion is not legal, the burden of accessing safe abortions fall harder on Black and brown communities and people with disabilities. Overturning Roe was always just the beginning to setting a dangerous precedent in the fight for bodily autonomy. We knew this because they told us this was the plan.
Yep.
Ban abortion, restrict access to birth control, strip away rights of LGBTQ people, ban access to life-saving medications. This was always the plan. Not far from here, forced birth supporters are gathering to celebrate the overturning of Roe this evening, something they have been planning for since Roe was passed. They disguise themselves as being pro-life and pretend to care about children and families. If they cared so much, where were they when schools in our cities closed? Or when community agencies get their budgets slashed and families have little to no supports? Where were they during the formula shortage crisis? Where are they to help advocate to decrease maternal mortality rates? I can tell you where they are. Just look at where they work based on their board of directors webpage. They are probably in their homes in whatever suburb they live in, turning a blind eye to the real needs of children and families in this community. They are your neighbors.
Yep.
They are your co-workers.
Yep.
They are your family.
Yep.
This year is very important in New York to protect the right for abortion, among other reproductive justice issues. This is the year that we have those uncomfortable yet important conversations. Whoa, wind. This is the year to get involved in advocating for policies that support our families, such as the Equal Rights Amendment, which will protect against any government actions that would curtail a person's reproductive autonomy or their access to reproductive health care. We need to be worrying about K through 12 comprehensive sex education so we can reduce the amount of unplanned pregnancies happening during people's college years. We need to be worried about raising the number of pregnant people receiving adequate prenatal care here in Monroe County from 70% to 100%. We need to be caring about them all through their journeys and however that may look, and create policies that support them to have those children. We should be worried about the amount of infants and mothers we are losing at or after birth due to medical negligence. We need to be worried about safe and affordable housing for everyone because soon we will be drowning in the greed of this nation. Today we start those conversations in a meaningful way. Today we say the word abortion. Today, we trust that a person can make their own damn decisions about their body. Today, we speak up for those who don't know that their rights are even being taken away. We fight for those who have always faced barriers to reproductive health care. We fight for those who are incarcerated, those who are pregnant and don't want to be. We fight for those who want to be pregnant and may need medical intervening during the hardest time of their life. Today, we stand and refuse to accept policy changes that affect our health care created by people who have never been to medical school. Today, we stand and ask our medical community to stand up for the rights of their patients and to demand that healthcare legislation is only signed into law when it is rooted in medical accuracy. Today, we start recognizing that abortion is popular among voters. An estimated 900 more people traveled to New York for abortion care in the first 6 months of 2023, as compared with a similar period in 2020. Overall, there were 13,900 more abortions in New York in the first 6 months of 2023 than in similar period in 2020. And the increased travel from out of state accounted for 6% of that overall increase in abortions. Today, we start letting our elected officials and anyone running for office hear us loud and clear. If you take away our bodily autonomy, we will vote you the fuck out.
Yes, we will.
Before we go, there are just some other things we need to keep in mind. As per the National Domestic Violence Hotline, there has been a 99% increase in callers reporting that people were trying to control their reproductive choices since the fall of Roe. You also have to keep in mind that where abortion bans are happening, we are now seeing double deserts, where your doctors no longer want to go to your states, and therefore the people who want to have babies no longer have OBGYNs and maternity wards to go to. People are having to travel miles and hours to have babies. If you care about life, then show the fuck up and care about life.
Yes, queen!
Thank you.
Holly wrote that.
Well, that was mean that I have to follow that. I like to put Rochester J last in speaking for a reason. So,
Sorry, I cussed.
my name is Sarah Timmerman. I am the Vice President of Rochester Now. I'm also the State Secretary for New York State Now. Woo! Yeah. When we were planning this event, I thought back to a couple years ago when we had these really great state victories where abortion was moved out of the criminal code and the right to birth control was put into New York state law and expanded. And we had this event, and it was soon after the legislation. And we had decided, today we're going to be positive, today we're going to celebrate, and tomorrow we'll keep fighting. And it felt so delicate at that time because we knew how easy it was to go away, and we knew how fleeting victories were on abortion. But we wanted that one night of celebration. And whenever I'm at an event like this, it does bring me some of that joy, because sometimes you feel like you're screaming into a void, especially when Roe was still in. You felt like you're screaming into a void of, this actually is really bad and it's going to get worse, and no one really believed you. In my day job, I work out in Wayne County, and I work with the disabled community. It is already a healthcare desert. I have people that are on, when we call up different doctors, it is in 6 months, I'll consider looking at a wait list, is the healthcare we're facing. It is, if it's actually bad, they're going to ship you to Rochester because they can't service you at their local hospitals. When I go into appointments with the people I support that are disabled, I assume the doctor's going to be bad with my people. If they are good and knowledgeable and actually know how to interact, I am telling everyone because I can't believe it. I have had to report doctors for using the R word with my patients that is not in their medical file. It is not a word used by these hospitals anymore. It is a word that they chose to use. Now imagine that person needs to get birth control because they're with their partner. Do you think that doctor's gonna actually give a shit about them and actually provide them the care they need? No, they are not. When we talk about the disabled community, and I work with a lot of people that are intellectually as well as physically disabled, and I bring up, well, what about birth control? And what about pregnancies? People laugh openly because it's assumed that that's not an issue. It is always an issue. People of all abilities, of all backgrounds, are sexually active by choice, which brings about a need, even if they're not sexually active, for OBGYN care, for proper care. Right now, Medicaid has decided that your annual OBGYN visit actually now is biannual and will not cover it every year. I cannot take my people every year to their annual appointment because it's not covered anymore. That is awful. Every single year we need to be screening for cancer and seeing if something's wrong. Every single year. And that is what we are facing on all of our health care. It was discussed earlier tonight how many states don't have OBs anymore. They are fleeing these states. Would you want to perform a job in a state where every day you risk life in prison for doing your job. Anyone who leaves the state, they are doing what they have to do. Anyone who stays, they are doing what they have to do.
Amen.
And we support you either way. If you come up here, we welcome you. We want you. If you stay down there, we will fight for you. We will help fund you. And we will fight that you can actually do your job. I won't talk much longer because it is quite cold and I am standing in snow, which is another rude thing they did to me at the start of this. But for all of us who have been screaming about this and were called crazy and too harsh for our chants of pro-life is a lie, you don't care if women die, and told to do nicer chants,
Fuck that.
what the fuck do you think now? Do you think that was too mean? Do you think that the women who are being told to come back when they smell like death, because that's when their pregnancy can be treated, think that that's too mean? Do you think the woman who this week her decision came down from the federal government that when told her pregnancy would probably kill her, they couldn't do anything because it wasn't killing her then? So she had a heart attack in a parking lot. And you know what the federal government said? We can't do anything. We don't have laws against that. So let's all wake up to what's going on, fight back, and let's not keep our feet off their fucking necks.
Yes.
Woo! Woo!
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone, so much for speaking. Thank you, all the folks who are still here, who are braving this cold. I know I can't feel my toes anymore.
Our
My
toes.
husband probably many of you cannot either. Okay, so I think we've lost a couple of press members to the cold, but I do think we might have some left. So if anyone has any questions, and would the speakers be okay with coming back up just in case any of the questions are for other folks?
Yeah, go, go. Woo! No pressure. You gotta ask all the questions now.
It's like it's too cold for it.
Don't let me forget my water bottle.
I won't.
Where is it? It's down there.
Oh, and she has it up there.
Smiling?
Yeah. Meredith.
Yes. Oh.
Thanks. I don't think I can take a picture.
Y'all
I can
are
send you some.
amazing.
You're the best.
Y'all are amazing. Next year we're gonna do this inside.
Yes. Oh, awesome.
But this is so pretty.
I don't have a question, but may I just thank you all for putting this on?
Thank you.
Right, back to all of you.
Thank you for
Right?
Yes, thank
We
you.
may do this as a job, but that means that shows up. This is your passion. This is what you believe in. You believe in yourselves. You believe in this community. You believe that we can make change here. Right? So continue to keep fighting. Continue to keep sharing the information. Continue to keep making calls. Because what is going on in other countries on this other side of the world could happen here if we slip up and stop. Right? There are people on the other side of the world at a 300% rate having miscarriages. There are people on the other side of the world who are not having any medical providers help them. We don't need that to happen here. We can't let an obnoxious, but also be warm and kind and competent. That's what I learned yesterday.
Starting local.
Right? And also, just because somebody is Democrat does not mean that they are
That's
here
right.
for us.
Oh, yes.
Say that again.
Just because someone is Democrat does not mean that they believe in our rights to our bodies.
So true. No, you're good.
what's happening.
Oh, that's cute.
Aww.
All right, thank you. Go home, be safe, drink something warm, eat something good.
Thank you. We've got a question.
Oh, yeah.